that we allowed in this studio. Dr. Tyrone Powers, my main apple scrapple. How are you, sir?
I'm doing well. Thanks for the opportunity to be on with you, Donna.
Good. We needed some guidance, some wisdom because we are confused as to what's happening in the city of Baltimore.
Yeah, it's a difficult time. It has been a difficult time in Baltimore for some time now, and part of it is, and I guess this is where I agree with Cornell West. We've had a lack of true visionary black leadership, and what I mean by um, visionary black leadership, I mean courageous in terms of any of the higher political offices, because I truly believe that if you run for those offices, you should run to do the right thing, not to get reelected. You should run um, understanding that you may only have one term, but try to change things and turn things around in the city. And as long as I've been in the city and watched the politics of the city, it's been too much compromising from the days of Martin O'Malley and even before Martin O'Malley. And after Martin O'Malley, there's been too much compromising, and there's so much pain in the city, so much talent and young people, so much talent and individuals who we should be making sure they have opportunities for economic development for. But yet, the leadership of the city has been extremely selfish, and there's no other way to put it. And you can't cover it up. You can't put pretty icing on an ugly cake. We just got to say it, because if we continue to cover it up, what we're going to have is more children dying, more children being hurt, misled, miseducated, and falling into a system that is actually designed for their downfall. So we are in a tremendous difficult situation, but difficult situations, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad said, people don't change in times of comfort, they change in times of discomfort. And we are in times of discomfort, and hopefully people will see that and understand that this is the greatest opportunity we have to make some significant changes. Many of us have to be willing to give up everything we have, including our lives, for the next generation. We're all going to die. Death is undefeated, so you can't live forever. So you might as well go ahead and decide now that with the time I have left on this earth, I'm going to create a legacy to make my life significant. In the church, they say people are searching for everlasting life. Well, I say you have everlasting life by touching the lives of young people, because even when you leave this earth, they'll be talking about you for generations to come. And that's how you have everlasting life. Not pie in the sky, everlasting life. Not everlasting life by just prayer without work, but everlasting life by doing the work and touching the lives of young. These young people are extremely talented, extremely energetic, having a desire to do the right thing. They just don't have the leadership and guidance. They don't have it in the school system. The teachers union now are more so for teachers than they are for students, forgetting the history of why teachers unions came into existence. The police union protect police officers even when they know they're bad police officers. They don't promote good policing. We have politicians who are self-absorbed, promoting themselves and promoting their next election and their next position. We have pastors that are promoting building kingdoms to themselves instead of trying to change the conditions.
Where are the pastors?
Well, you know what they are. I don't want to condemn all pastors, but
They're in the back
for a
room.
city to have
They are
2,000
in the
churches,
back room. They're making deals. They're being silent while our children are dying in the streets, while people are playing political football with our children. Wait till these young people come up. They got a story to tell.
well, the 2,000 churches in the city, 1,600 liquor stores. You would think that we'd be doing more, and the churches outnumber the liquor stores, so we should be winning that battle. I like the odds of 2,000 to 1,600, but we're absolutely not. So people are
Depends
getting
on what the
bad
preacher's
spirits.
saying.
They're getting bad spirits in the bar, and they're getting bad spirits in the church, no
I
matter how
mean,
you
have
look
you
at it.
checked out church politics, man? Sometimes you gotta know somebody just to get a seat in the black church. Come on, tell the truth. And then my problem is them preachers that don't know when the sermon is over. I love to hear the preaching. I love to go to church. But dude, you started at 11 and it is now 12:45. Are we going home today?
Well, I always say
Yeah, I
church,
said it. They stay too long.
church actually starts when the service ends. I mean, church is actually doing the work of God in the streets, saving these young people. The group you have in the studio today, providing opportunities for them, providing economic opportunities. The service is just an awards banquet. You hear the preacher preach, but the work of the church, the work of God, doesn't happen in the church. That's treadmill religion. You have to get off the treadmill and get on the track, and the track is actually in the streets. If we got off the treadmill and onto the track, man, we could turn this city around tremendously. I just can't believe that a city of 600,000 people, with all the talent we have in this particular city, is in the condition it's in. And the reason it is in the condition it's in is a lack of courage, not a lack of wisdom, because people are wise enough to look out for themselves. but a lack of courage and a lack of a spiritual foundation and a lack of a vision to understand that everything we do, only what we do in the end for God will count, and only what we do to make it a better future for our children is worth doing anyway. All that other stuff will go to the wayside. And I've said that from the very beginning. And you know, Donnie, early on when we were doing radio before they stripped the backbone out of Earl Richardson over at Morgan State University and pretty much not only co-opted the university but the children over there and the miseducation is going on over there. And somebody has to tell the truth about it. But the reality of the matter is before they did that, I said back then that what we do is for the sake of everybody. When we had the policing plan, we call it the people's plan. It wasn't the Tyrone Powers plan or the Donnie Glover plan or the Darren Muhammad plan. It was the people's plan because in the end, we're just a part of this. And as soon as we can take ourselves out of it and see that it's for the children, if you look into their eyes and do it for them, then you'll feel better, you'll sleep better, you'll be in better health, and more importantly, we'll be in a better condition. But in this city, to be quite frank with you, for the longest period of time, we have had so much corruption till we're getting exactly what we should expect. We call it the Frankenstein theory. Whatever you create, you will eventually confront. You create a monster, you will in fact confront a monster. You create angels, you will confront angels. You can't create devils and expect to see angels when they grow up. So if we create these monsters, expect to be carjacked, expect to be robbed. Don't be surprised at the crime rate because it's the Frankenstein theory. You create a monster and expect to confront a monster.
Well, look at this. I'm baffled as to why a majority black city has a problem getting a response out of the Baltimore NAACP and the Baltimore State's Attorney's Office when it comes to the young man, young student whose wrist was broken by the Shamrim karate dude up there in Park Heights.
Well,
why has nobody said anything?
Well, I know that's a rhetorical question because this is why I say that, because I know you know as well as I know that the leadership that we have never really asked that question. They've never really demanded an answer from those particular people. Anytime you sit down and compromise with somebody who has harmed you and someone from your community, that's not a meeting. They're in a position of power, and the fact that you would come to them and sit down in their building to talk to them about some wrong they did to you, trust me, Donnie, you commit a crime tonight, the police department's going to take you to their house.
But then in Baltimore County, they called the transgender incident a hate crime in in 5 seconds, in 5 minutes. All of a sudden, oh, that's a hate crime. A man going in the girl's bathroom, or however it was. I mean, but it was just it was real simple to them. But this young man young brother, little kid, going to school, getting his wrist broke, and that's not hate.
It's hate, and it's a sign of who has the power in this particular city. And we're good talkers. We'll have a meeting with them. We'll compromise with them. But at some point,
the people cheered. The adults cheered when this young man's charges were dropped.
Right. With all the leadership we've had, this is it, and I'll say this and shut down. With all the leadership we've had, you go all the way back to Harriet Tubman and Marcus Garvey, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, his students, Malcolm X, and Minister Fred. With all the leadership we have, for us to still be seeking answers, I've heard black people say all the time, we got to create a new program. We've got to organize this. All you've got to do is read the blueprints that all these people have given you. I've been in people's offices where they say, I don't know what to do. And sitting behind them, they got Message to the Black Man, The Philosophy and Opinions of Marcus Garvey, the Autobiography of Malcolm. They got all these books on their bookshelf. Their house looks beautiful. And yet we got to come up with a new plan. All we have to do is implement the plan that all these brilliant people came up with and understand what you're dealing with in our community. I heard an earlier discussion about the Democrat or the Republican Party. The student of the Honorable Muhammad, Malcolm X, said that I am not a Democrat or Republican and got sense enough to know it. The reality of the matter is at some point we start voting and looking for and working towards our interests and not toward any particular party. And I don't really care if the president in the White House is black or white. The fact of the matter is, unless we actually do the work, unless we do what we did when we shut down and had all the water fountains turned off in the Baltimore City school system, unless we confront, unless we have courage, unless we drop our cowardice, then we're not going to change anything. We're going to be sitting here 10 to 15 years. We can get on the radio and become radio revolutionaries all we want. We can do all the rhetoric we want, but unless we really decide to give up something to get something, we're going to have what we always have. Every holy book talks about sacrifice. If you're a Christian, the sacrifice of Jesus. If you're a Muslim, the sacrifice of Muhammad. Every book talk about sacrifice, but we don't want to give up nothing, but we want something out of it. We don't want to give up the possibility of losing our job. We don't want to give up the possibility of losing our lives for a good cause. But we go to church or go to the mosque or go wherever we want and talk about sacrifice every single week. And whatever created there is, can't be, he's got to be looking down and say, look, I've given you leaders, I've given you movements, I've given you opportunities, I've let you stand the pressure of water hoses, I've let you stand the bullwhip days, your woman was whipped and I let you come out of that. I've given you all the opportunity you've had to succeed, and you give me Stephanie Rollins Blake and this administration, you give me Martin O'Malley, I give you a majority black city, and you think the best leader for a black city is a white person. Nothing against whites, but why do you come out of Montgomery County? Why don't you get elected down there to lead Baltimore? We haven't groomed enough black people in Baltimore City to run this city. What are we saying to our, is it an insult to us to say we can't produce a mayor of our own kind and color and kind? It's not anti anything. It's about us. And so that's what I would say. We're in a desperate situation, and we have the opportunity and the ability to change, but we got to stop playing with it.
Baltimore, we're talking with Dr. Tyrone Powers right here on WOLBbaltimore.com, WOLB 1010 AM. My name's Donnie, last name's Glover, publisher of BeMoreNews.com. The news before the news. We will take your calls on the other side.